watching News 3 Now at 6. Moving forward.
We have all seen the cartoons hidden within the pages of the newspaper, and while they use fewer words than the articles on the front page, they can tell just as much of a story. Our Maddie Heimsch has more on one of those storytellers right here in Madison. Maddie?
Yeah, Eric, Phil Hands is the editorial cartoonist for the Wisconsin State Journal. That means he's part journalist, part artist, and part comic. And a year of unprecedented political moves and historic firsts, well, that means he's never starving for ideas.
I feel like sometimes my cartoons can't compete with what politicians actually say nowadays, which is wild. Some of it you can't exaggerate it. It's already a caricature of itself.
They say fact is stranger than fiction. And as a cartoonist, that's exactly the way Phil Hands likes it.
There's always something going on. There's always somebody saying something outlandish or outrageous, because that's the politics we live in nowadays.
And while most reporters put those outlandish statements into headlines, Hands squeezes them into speech bubbles.
How do I add this pop culture element to talk about this deep political issue? Or how do I add something lighthearted to talk about this weighty issue?
Next time you see a Phil Hands original, look for a fish mug in Tony Evers' hands, a nod to the governor's holy mackerel catchphrase, or Donald Trump's comically small fists, referring to his 2016 spat with Marco Rubio about the size of his hands. It's those little details that he hopes can bring some much-needed humor to an increasingly volatile political landscape.
Taking respectable politicians and making them look buffoonish, and nowadays our politicians, are pretty wild and crazy as they are. My job is to sort of have fun with it. Don Old. It's so unique and so special.
And while there's a gold mine of content on the national stage this year, Hands has always preferred punchlines that land here in Wisconsin.
And then, that's one of those ones where gets the Madison people all riled up.
Getting people riled up is one of Hans's favorite parts of the job.
When you see a cartoon, you're like, oh, that's what Phil thinks about that issue. Not necessarily that's the truth. That's what I think about it. It's very much part of an opinion piece.
Good, bad, and angry feedback proudly thumbtacked to the walls around his desk.
Even though I think it's not as respected as it used to be, I think it's having its best moment right now ever in the history of the genre.
If you want to try your hand at political cartooning, Hands hosts a caption contest in the Wisconsin State Journal every week.